And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Pattison Avenue Phanatics show. I'm your host, James Scorza, filling in for TK once again this week. With me, as always, the group of companions, Frank Finnegan,
Good morning.
Damon Salim,
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday.
and the
Happy
master
Saturday.
himself, Mr. Joey Marks. How you doing, buddy?
Happy Saturday morning, Philadelphia.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a great, happy Saturday morning for some teams, but as for others, maybe not so much.
Not so
We
much.
got a lot to get to. We got the Eagles going to try to get their 11th win of the season. Sixers struggling again, and the Flyers, well, they are what they are. So, Frank, you're the man of the hour. Where do we begin on this Saturday?
Well, I want to kick off today with a little international flair, and kick off's an appropriate word.
Okay.
I, you know, it's I was I never really watched soccer, but I watched that game of USA and Iran, and I loved it. I thought it was a great game. I thought it was exciting. It was tense. So, what do you guys think their chances are of making the Elite Eight? Anybody know anything that can share with the people? I know a little bit about Netherlands. I know that they're big boys. They like to press the issue. They like to play man up. They don't like to play a zone structure. They like to go man on man with their coverages. But they do have a situation where there is a flu running rampant through their team. Now, somebody said yesterday that it might not be flu, it might be COVID, and FIFA is just overlooking it. Any thoughts?
Well, I would say this. With USA and the men's, I don't keep up with soccer as much, but what I do know in the international flair, because I do care a little bit about like what happens in that regard. I know that they haven't been to the semis in quite some time. They had a run in the early 2000s that was very memorable. And whether or not this team has that fire, I mean, look, their backs were against the wall. They needed to have a win against Iran. They couldn't walk out with a draw. They had to win. So they already have played with pressure. So, I feel like if they continue to play with that urgency, this could be a team that could go very, very far, quite possibly even to the championship if they chose to, depending on who they draw in the next coming rounds, even if they get past the Netherlands.
Yeah, and to piggyback what you said, Joey.
I have a lot of friends. I play this silly game online. It's a Golf Clash, and the team that I'm on is populated with a lot of Brits. And before the game against England, they were like, "Yeah, we're going to win by 2 goals. The U.S. team can't keep up with us." And I'm going to tell you, these guys are they're as expert on soccer as we are on football and baseball. And after that game, they were thoroughly impressed with the American team. And the one guy said to me, he said, "You guys have a chance to stick it out a little bit." And he said that we have a chance against Netherlands. And maybe we do. I mean, the game's going to be on in an hour. So I'm going to have it on. So, I just, a little national support for them. Let's go. I don't really like the way games are reffed. I think they're, it's very subjective with refereeing and yellow cards and stuff like that. And some of the game is confusing to me. But as far as competitive as goes, that game the other day was competitive as you get. Anybody else watch it?
I didn't watch necessarily a lot of it. I know there's one guy that's a Pennsylvania kid. He's from Hershey, so I guess I got to keep a close eye on him. So
he's the man on that team. Pulisic is the man on that team, and he scored the only goal, and damn near lost his family jewels doing it. I don't know whether any of you guys saw how he scored that goal, but he wound up with a knee in a really bad place from the goalie.
Jesus. Oh, man.
So, it was questionable whether he was going to play today, but he's playing. They called it an abdominal injury.
Voice selector button. Send this to friends or post.
It wasn't. It was.
Left and to right. Share to your send and message button.
Netherlands,
Space. Back button.
they have a good defense, so I don't know how the U.S. plans to get by them. But you know, they're in the qualifying part of the tournament now, so that's a good thing.
It's good there.
Cool that the local bars are opened up. I think the game starts at 9:30, something like that this morning. So
Well, the broadcast.
Yeah, I think the
does.
South
games
House
are
open
10
at
o'clock.
9:32.
Yes, they do. Pleasantly surprised. I do frequent South House very often, and when I do, it's not. Yeah. So yeah, and when I do, it's not normally in the morning, but when I do occasionally with the family go there for a great brunch, which I'll plug on non-Eagles Sunday games. South House does offer a fantastic brunch menu, with pitcher mimosas.
There you go.
So
Number more, right?
yeah.
And
I almost said mamula instead of mimosa. So you called me on that.
Joe, even on a Sunday morning, we can get in trouble walking out the door. And if we were to get in trouble, James, who would we see?
Yeah, right. I wonder
Who would we
will
see on Sunday morning? If we needed some legal advice on
Legal
Sunday morning
assistance.
after we drank too many mimosas, who would we talk to?
Right.
Well, we're talking to
David R.
Mr. Cherry, correct?
Oh, David R. Cherry, that's right. And we are proudly sponsored by Mr. David R. Cherry. Workers' compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, criminal law. Giving them a call at 610-565-0300. And hopefully when we have more of, how you say it, Joe? I don't know how to say it, but Momoa's
what?
Mimosas.
Mimosas. Yeah.
Mamula has a lot of mimosas in the merry morning.
It's like a tongue twister.
He should have drank more. He should have drank more mimosas.
Yeah. But here's my feeling is with the scheduling of the soccer games and matches and everything in early morning. I think it only helps. I think it only helps bars because. I mean, if you ask the owner, Ant, about South House, yes, he loves the business. No, he doesn't love being up from like 9 a.m. to like 2 a.m.
I've worked in bars. It's not fun to be there that early. It's
No.
not fun to be there that early.
Okay,
because you got a long day ahead of you.
Yeah, well, the beer distributor people, the kegs that get delivered don't normally get there until close to 10 a.m. So now you're dealing with the order,
running out of beer.
Yeah. Well, that can't happen, especially when you're dealing with soccer fans.
And the other thing too is like if you have a lot of mimosas in your system, just give David R. Cherry a call and also tell him Pattison Avenue and EOP sent you.
Yes.
Yeah, there you
for
go.
Sure.
Yeah,
okay. I'm sure we've bored.
I'm sorry,
we've bored enough.
There was a sports bar in Santa
Yeah, we're losing you, Damon. Your mic's off.
We're losing you, pal.
Something's wrong with your mic.
Your mic is clicking on and off. So,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Dame.
Say
That's better. Can you hear me better?
Oh yeah, a lot better.
That's better. Oh, yeah.
When I lived in California, there was a sports bar in Santa Monica. It was owned by the owner was from Philly. It was an Eagles bar. It was actually and we had our own section. They showed other games, Minnesota, Dallas, of course. But 10 o'clock in the morning, you're in there watching the Eagles game because East Coast was 1 o'clock.
Right.
So 10 o'clock in the morning, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Because by 1 o'clock, you were feeling good and the game was over in the afternoon. So I didn't mind the 10 o'clock in the morning game back then. I was younger.
Good morning, Sean. Thanks for the update.
Sean.
Norm.
Yeah, where's Norm, man?
Not
I haven't
Norm,
seen him
Sean.
in God knows when.
Yeah. So all right, let's move on to the next topic. James, I'm going to throw this one at you. Tortorella had some interesting comments in his presser this week. And I believe, without holding back, he called the Flyers front office out in public.
Yeah.
So how do
Absolutely.
you feel about that? What are your thoughts on that? Because I kind of liked it. I mean, I knew when they hired Tortorella that this is not the kind of guy that holds back anything. And he went right after the paycheck, which I was amazed that he did it.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Frank. I think that's the one thing that I took out of it too. Is like since Tortorella was like basically telling Chuck Fletcher, "You need to get me talent in here because this talent stinks." I mean, the talent they have is just—it's just like I mean, the only thing they have on this team is just mucking and grinders, and after a while, it's like you need to get some players to produce. I mean, you can't be worried about Delorier dropping the gloves every couple games. I mean, that's. I mean, but John Tortorella was like basically saying like, you guys are playing like shit, but it's not my problem that you guys are playing like shit. You guys have to play better for me.
Hey, does somebody have a speaker going in the background? I'm hearing a lot of feedback on another somebody else talking.
Do you hear me?
No. No, it sounded like there was a speaker or television in the background going.
Is that what you hear?
Can anybody?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll turn that down. That's my screen reader. Sorry, folks.
No, it's all good.
Oh, okay. That's all right. Yeah, I think there's the Flyers missed their chance last offseason to get a star to build a team around. I don't know how that front office can look at the fan base who supported them for the last 40 years without question and give them an honest look and say we're doing our best, because I don't think they are. I just don't think they are. It's not representative of what we believe. It's not representative of what we believe a Philadelphia team should be, at least not from a front office standpoint. I mean, you know, we beat Bill Giles up the way he ran the Phillies. We beat Norman Brayman up the way he ran the Eagles. We beat Harold Katz up for the way he ran the Sixers. It's the Flyers turn on the whipping post, and as a fan base, we need to beat the heck out of the Flyers because what they're putting out there is garbage. I am not happy being the New York Jets of the National Hockey League. I'm just not.
Well, yeah, it's like kind of like the Detroit Lions of the Flyers. The Flyers are like similar like that too, but the only difference is the Lions never won a Super Bowl. But I totally agree 100% what you said there, Frank. Because like the team is just like they look like they have like no interest in having like even though I'm skeptical about Carter Hart, but he's the only guy I guess I could say is like the only process that we have to say the least.
So off of that, James, let me ask you this.
Sure.
It was raised on talk radio this week.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider, I don't know now, but maybe after the season, depending on how it plays out, moving Carter Hart and stripping the whole team down? Because if you move Carter Hart, if you move Carter Hart, you're gonna basically do a process. So my question is, how would you feel? I mean, you've been through it with the Sixers, but how would you feel as a devout Flyer fan to one, Fletcher, to sell the team maybe, and then two, to go ahead and strip it down, maybe having to move a Carter Hart, get some draft picks, and build them back up?
Yeah.
Well, I'll throw another name out there that I had really given a lot of thought to when we talk about trying to sell off the team a little bit in order to rebuild, and like Dame said, gonna go into a process with the Flyers. So Carter Hart is a big asset that should get you a lot back. I don't believe Chuck Fletcher's the guy with the brain power to be able to get anything qualifying back for any of these guys. But the other name that jumps out to me, especially right now, is Travis Konechny.
True.
The market value on TK is very, very large at this point because he's doing very well this year. He's still young. He still has a lot of legs underneath him. I honestly feel like this team needs that restart button. And I feel like it's in dire need of something to inject it with, excitement. And, James, you had brought it up many times. Pat Bernard has brought it up many times. It doesn't go without saying that if you would have brought Johnny Hockey to this town, regardless, good, bad, or indifferent, this team would have rallied around Johnny Hockey, would have rallied around Goudreau. And I think it would have been different feel.
That's the one thing I take out of it too. Is like there was a lot of players out there that I was really looking to keep an eye on. Johnny Gaudreau is obvious the one I went off about, but there's another guy that really I think he could have been a real help here, and it's the former Dallas star John Klingberg, because he's up in Anaheim right now. He's not even looking that. I mean, it looks like he's on a team that is still rebuilding necessarily. But if you bring in Klingberg, that probably helps your defense out a ton.
Yeah,
it helps you out a ton because you don't have to worry about Ryan Ellis being worried about him coming back, or Rasmus
he may not
Ristolainen
even come back.
Yeah,
that's the reports I'm hearing right now. Is that Ryan Ellis is shut down for the rest of the year?
And I saw that. I saw that this week, Joe.
What?
Yeah, and this is a guy who's played 4 total games. He's the Andrew Bynum of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, I think I saw Wednesday in the paper. Like I was going through the paper when I'm in the gas station, whatever. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he's possibly shut down.
I mean, you got to think
it's like the Pronger effect again.
Yeah, but with Pronger, we at least got two.
You got some play out of him.
Yeah, you got
some playoff play out of him.
Yeah,
some playoff play.
Significant playoff play, and that's the difference.
Yes, significant. Correct.
You have to.
Indeed. See, I'm taking a
good word, Joey. Significant. Good word.
I'm taking a different tack on this. Yeah, I don't think we should even discuss trading what few assets we have until we discuss cutting off the head of the snake, and that's Fletcher.
Agreed.
If you give Fletcher the keys and say, go get me some talent for what we have, I am completely confident that he will screw it up.
He's going to take a Porsche. He's going to take a Porsche and Carter Hart and Travis Konechny and go trade it for a lemon. And that's what it's going to feel like. And that's
is he similar to Clintac minus the analytics?
Ooh, that's a good line. Man.
I think that's way digging at Clintac.
The way he's been running the team, he's Clintac minus a brain. That's saying a lot.
Yeah, Clintac did a 10 Brown. He did a 10 Ivy League.
Yes. Yeah. I
hate the face too.
I don't understand how the Flyers management didn't do it last year. Yeah. And chose to fire another coach. I mean, sooner or later, how many coaches you going to fire before you realize it's not the coach? The team needs a can of Drano. They really.
Let me ask you this. I know that oh my God, they moved him up. Danny Briere. I know Danny Briere is in whatever.
That was a great signing. I always loved that signing.
Yeah. He's an assistant.
Danny was a great player.
Right now, is Clark and those guys still around?
They're
not going anywhere. They have lifetime contracts.
I think Holmgren is still up in there.
Holmgren's still around.
Well,
I think he's still around too.
Holmgren's still around, but he actually is consulting with the Kraken. So he's still around, but he's got hands in other cookie jars.
Right.
So with Clark and in that regard, Dame, to answer your question, those guys are still around. Like Charlie Manuel is still around for the Phillies, and Larry Bow is still around for the Phillies, and people like that. But they don't have a say. I mean, I agree with Frank in the head of the snake, but I agree that there's another head of the snake, and that is ownership. That they don't know what they're doing, and they haven't known what they're doing, unfortunately, since Ed Snyder died.
So my question is: any of Ed's? Isn't like one of his sons involved in ownership? No.
It's a management group that Ed's son is a part of, but it's a management group. Okay. It's not a legitimate.
So he doesn't have much say.
I don't have all the faith in the world in Jay's opinion about teams, the way a team should be run, because when he ran a team, it was a mess as well.
Right. No. And I wasn't suggesting that, Frank. What I'm getting to is this. And actually, it's for you, Frank, because I was a little boy when I don't remember anything about the Flyers winning when I was a little boy.
I was both parades.
Yeah, I don't. But I do know that by the late 70s, early 80s, they were really a good team.
Yes, they were. They were a good team.
Huh?
Go ahead. I said
I
they
was
were
just
a
saying.
good team.
So, and then in the 90s, Lindros comes and they need a spark like that. But my question is, are they still stuck in the 70s? Because it seems like they're trying to get out, and yet they just can't find a way to catch up to today's hockey. I mean, I could be off.
Stephen makes up a good point.
No, go ahead, James.
No, Stephen makes a good point, and I agree 100% when he says like Fletcher was saved by 1 year by Nino Niederreiter, only that would have 0 playoff wins under his belt. But that other team too, Stephen, they had Zach Parise and Ryan Suter too, so that was a pretty good lineup. But Fletcher, that was like 10 years ago, so I reckon with that though.
And they lost. They just won another 10-game losing streak. Like, how do you do that? Right. 2 years in a row.
I don't get it.
Well, they had 2 10-game losing streaks last year.
I know.
They just had, so
I'm saying, Frank, what I'm saying is they just had another one. Like, how does that happen?
Leadership.
Because upstairs doesn't understand how to run a hockey team. They don't know how to build a hockey team. And when Tortorella took this job, I said to my son, I said, he's the wrong guy for this job. I mean, because he's not going to hold back, Frank? And he's not going to tolerate it.
But you know what happened? Instead of getting Johnny, this was just mentioned this week. They signed Tortorella, and ticket sales went up. Yeah. I don't know of any team that I can recall where a coach. Maybe Phil Jackson, I don't know, but he had that cachet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's
that was bizarre to me. And I know this guy's track history. I'm aware of him, but I'm just saying, like, that was bizarre to me.
I mean, everywhere he's gone, Dame, he's had a positive effect on the teams that he's been with, because he's a good coach. But he's got a really short shelf life because of his coaching style.
He's old school.
And the Flyers management looked at that and went, the fans are going to see that we're doing something to change the makeup of the team, and we're doing it by getting the coach that motivates players. Mm-hmm. But they're like,
it's called a sucker move, Frank. Let's call it for what it is. That's a sucker move, Joey.
Despite their nose, I mean.
And this is what I'll say. This is what I'll say, Frank. I don't completely agree with the idea that it was the wrong hire. I think it was the wrong hire in the sense that it's the wrong hire at the point in time that this team is. Like, we're not at the right era. Like, we're at the Brett Brown era.
The team doesn't have the makeup to handle a guy like Tortorella.
Right. We're at the Brett Brown era when it comes down to where the Flyers are in their maturation. And you're basically trying to go out and get a Doc before you have a Brett Brown. And that's not the right way of going.
And the other thing I take out of it too is that, like, if this is like another tanking season, they're gonna basically sail the ship. And I mean, the Tortorella thing is like you got John Tortorella now. Now you can't produce with them, but you want to tank. It's like, I don't need more tanking. I've seen tanking for 10 years, and I don't need to trust the process shit again. I need a cup. Gosh darn it.
Well, James, I'm going to tell you, the way they're set up now, they're not winning for 10 years.
But James, that's what I'm saying. James, at least, and I get your feelings and frustration, but at least to the Sixers' credit, Joe, we knew what we were getting into, and we,
I get that.
At least they were honest, right?
Right.
Well, so even with the Phillies, let's take the Phillies, right? The Phillies said, "Look, we're going to bring in Harper. We know we need to add some more pieces," and lo and behold, they did, and they might add another one. We'll know in a few weeks. So, what we're saying, Frank, what we're saying with the Flyers, at least, listen. One thing about Philly fan base. If you let them know, they'll follow you. But if you play around, like a girl you dating, and then, you didn't call me, I don't have no time for that. Either we're going out or we're not. Like, I don't have no time for
you can't pull our chain. You can't pull our chain.
Nah, we don't have time for that. Life's short.
And we've supported this team for we've supported this team for decades, and I mean, it was always difficult to get tickets for the games when I was younger. But
Yeah.
but James, if we needed to get tickets for a game right now, how would we handle that?
I don't even know. I mean, if this was like 10 years ago and you're coming off a Stanley Cup run, then yeah, I'll be like, yeah, I would love to go to a game every night. 'Cause
You
it's
know,
like the
James, I wish that there was like a place where I could like book tickets.
well, you could
Yeah,
go
there's
now.
gotta-
I mean, you have the freedom to go to now because I know you've been paid for God knows how long.
Hey,
Don't
man,
we know a ticket agency? Don't we know a ticket
Yeah,
agency?
yes, we
James?
do.
We do.
Yes, we do. And it's a new sponsor to our Pattison Ave Phanatics show, Sherry'sTickets.com. It means to save 10% off of your next project. Includes great prices, no hidden fees, sports, concerts, theater. Visit them online, www.Sherry'sTickets.com, and use the promo code EOP10 just in time for the holidays. And probably in the words of Frank Costanza, just in time for Festivus for the Flyers.
Yeah, right. You know, it's welcome to our family. It's a wonderful addition to the EOP family to have Sherry's Tickets on staff. So
Look, I will say, as a person whose wife likes to go to the theater, and now they're being a sponsor with us in our family that can provide great service and tickets for theater, sporting events, and whatnot. My wife might be on that website a lot more often than I like.
Right.
I'm just saying
she's gonna be
that
spending
way.
your she's
She'll-
gonna be spending your money. So
She'll be spending
so
my
to change
Christmas
tack,
money.
Just spend my Christmas.
so to change tack onto a different subject. Something very big happened in MLB yesterday. I didn't see this coming, but Jacob deGrom got signed by the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
Okay, for quite a lot of money, $185 million over 5 years, to a guy who's like pitching 100 innings a year. But what this does is it leaves a hole in the Mets rotation, and what I believe it takes the Phillies out of the Rondon bidding, because I think that Cohen in New York is gonna wind up trying to get Rondon, and we really need that guy. Does anybody else feel that the Mets losing deGrom hurts the Phillies' chances to get Rondon?
First off, I'm going to go in and say this. So there was two big moves. Number one, this past week. Number one, the DeGrom to the Rangers. It shocked me because the Rangers aren't really a contending team, and yeah, it's a lot of money. But for someone like DeGrom, I was kind of surprised. I felt like that wasn't as much as I thought he would go for. As far as the Phillies getting Rodon, I don't think that's on the table. I know people think it should be. I don't agree. I feel like someone like a Corey Kluber, who is a Cy Young winner and a guy who's a bona fide stud, you add another guy to this rotation that has experience in the playoffs, has experience with high level situations, and with the way Kluber year went last year, you could get him for a slight discount over Carlos Rodon, who's going to probably now see what DeGrom got and know that the market is, ready for the taking.
His price tag went up.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
But in regards to the Mets gaping hole, I'm not going to cry any spilled milk over any of the Mets
I'm
woes.
not crying. I just don't want him to fill the hole.
Well, I think the biggest
Well,
sign is
if your biggest concern is will they fill that hole with Carlos Rodon,
Yeah.
maybe. But there is another player that could be on the block for them to go get, and that's Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
So just keep that
He's
in
not
mind.
going anywhere.
There's
He's
one
not
other
going
guy that Joey Sharon brought up a couple days ago, and I think it might be a good fit for the Phillies. Nathan Eovaldi. I think he might be a good fit then when done. Honestly,
as long as you're not counting on him to be more than a third starter or a fourth starter.
But
You
the
know,
other move
they lost
that-
Eflin. They lost Eflin.
Yeah,
Eflin signed with the Rays.
Eflin,
Yeah, I was about to say Eflin signed with the Rays.
yeah,
and
believe
good
that?
for
I
him.
just see him go.
Good for him, but at the same time, for the money that they paid him, I'm just trying to understand Eflin's logic because he turned down, I think it was a $12.5 million player option with the Phillies just to take, I think it was like $14.5 million to the Rays a year.
It could be.
Right.
It could be.
Well,
the
it
way they
wasn't.
possibly
It wasn't the $14.5 million. Joe, it was the years.
Yeah,
It was a
He
year.
gets 3 years.
yeah.
You know,
And also
and
possibly
the
the way
Phillies,
the Phillies
were
gonna
not.
use him.
No, well, no, the Phillies weren't going to give him the years because I hope the Rays are not counting on him to be a regular starter because he doesn't have it anymore.
Does he come out of the bullpen? Does he come out of the bullpen?
reliever at some point with the
Why would
Phillies.
you pay a middle reliever $40 million?
Yeah.
It's the highest money the Rays have ever paid a free agent. Does anybody know that? That's the most money the Rays have ever paid a free agent.
They didn't pay David
In their
Price.
history.
Oh, well, David Price was internal.
And out of all the pitchers,
right.
they pick Eflin.
Yeah.
Not sure that.
Frank says, yeah.
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, not that Eflin's a bad pitcher. When Eflin's healthy, Eflin's very effective. The problem with
There's
Eflin
question
is
marks.
he doesn't stay healthy.
Right. Those are the
Eflin-
question marks surrounding him.
Yeah.
Those are like those are. He's the Riddler. He's got question marks all over his jersey.
He's the Riddler.
Right now.
He's the Riddler.
He's the Riddler. Riddle me this.
Yeah, I think the Phillies are going to make a nice splash. They're going to sign Trey Turner.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of relief pitchers on Houston's team who are free agents this year. I think the Phillies ought to mine that crop for some relievers for our bullpen to increase our power because clearly what cost us the World Series was pitching. There's no two ways about it. They had much better pitching and good pitching stops, good hitting all the time, and they had good pitching. So if the Phillies want to win, they had, as far as I'm concerned, had to do two things. They had to get a contact hitter in this lineup that gets on base, and they needed pitching. And if they sign Trey Turner, they have a leadoff hitter, and he's a contact hitter. He gets on base. It puts Schwarber where he needs to be in the 4-hole. They're not going to be able to trade Rhys Hoskins. So, and the reason you can't is because you're not going to be able to replace him with anybody who's better, at least offensively. And it kills me to think that we're going to be stuck with him at first base because he's a butcher. He's an absolute butcher at first base.
So if you're Dave Dombrowski, Frank, and you're leaving the winter meetings and you're going shopping, right? Obviously you would like to see them sign Trey Turner. I don't know if you guys heard, Joe, James, that the Phillies are going to meet with all the top shortstops. They're going to have meetings with all of them.
Yeah, they're sure they are.
Yeah, and
but they are.
The kid from Boston, the man from Boston, I forget his name.
Bogarts?
Xander Bogaerts.
Huh?
Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah. So they're going to meet with all those guys. So what would you like if you're going shopping? What would you like to see? Obviously, shortstop, leadoff hitter, shortstop/leadoff hitter. We could say that. I know you mentioned a pitcher. Is there anything else you think they might need to snatch up? And they may not be able to get at the winter meetings, but obviously, down the line.
Yeah, I think Bogarts will be a good pick.
Bogarts or Turner. My first choice is Turner. He has a better stick than Bogarts, but not by much. He hits for more power than Bogarts, but not by much.
You already have the inside track with Turner. You already have the inside track.
Yeah, well, I think Turner's relationship with some of the players on the team, especially Harper.
And his wife's from Jersey. They said his wife wants to come to Philly.
Well, the women wear the pants, so.
Yeah.
So they're gonna make the call. If the deal is the same as anywhere else, they're gonna pick here. So yeah, I think they're gonna give their cursory talk to every shortstop, but really it comes down to Bogarts and Turner. So what I think is going to wind up happening is Turner's going to come here and Bogarts is going to go to LA. That's what I think is going to happen.
Now, Steve says that the Dodgers fans. I have to ask my friends out there in LA that they believe Turner comes up short in the playoffs. What do you guys feel about that?
I don't know about that.
Well,
I got to see more.
As a
but what does that mean?
Team,
I don't know.
It means that they had to pick somebody to make the goat. Is what it means, because the whole team came up short of the playoffs. I mean, like, come
Right.
on. You know, I mean, there's no reason that team. There's no reason that team should have lost. No reason. It should have come down to the Mets, the Braves, or the Dodgers in the NL, and how we jumped up out of like a genie out of the bottle and took care of business. It was an awesome fall. You know, none of us expected that. And I mean, I
Hey,
thought
Frank,
that. I mean, go ahead.
it's similar to what the Nationals did. We just came up short and didn't finish. The Nationals came in as a wild card. They caught fire at the right time. And
we didn't have the
thing
pitching,
home.
and our
So-
biggest
so did
problem
we.
besides pitching, is we didn't have contact hitters. We don't have contact hitters. We got thumpers, and to beat that kind of pitching staff, you need patient contact hitters.
Right.
You know,
You took the
and we
words
just-
out of my mouth, Frank. You need a patient contact hitter. You need patience
Right.
at that plate. And the Phillies, after that shutout, that no hitter, lost their patience. Never
Well,
got
I mean,
it back.
you know,
Never.
it's easy to shut thumpers down. You know, I mean, they're all looking fastball, and they start getting anxious and they want to get back in. But that pitching staff was surgical with their pitching. I mean, just absolutely surgical.
Good word. Yes, sir.
You know, they were hitting their spots, and the Phillies just couldn't catch them. So, you know, if you're not gonna play contact ball with a team like that, you're not gonna win. You're just not. You know, it was just a matter of time before that pitching staff caught up to them, because they go 9 deep in their pitching staff. You know, we go 5, 6,
5.5.
You can't. Yeah. You know, and now that half is gone. He's in Tampa now. So
Well,
they better
and this is one of the reasons why I agree with the idea of getting Turner. And this is why I feel like once you go through and get Turner, you have a better chance of bringing up. Like, I disagree with Matty B in some regards when he says that Painter and Abel will not make the starting roster, because I honestly feel like they do.
And they have to.
Because I feel like that's going to save some money when it comes down to any arms that you bring in to this organization outside of what's in the starting rotation. That's why I feel like if Corey Kluber wants to give us a discount because of the bad year that he had last year, okay, fine. I'm good with that. I would rather pay. Right. I'd rather pick someone who's proven and can give us a club-friendly deal. That's where Dombrowski's going to thrive.
You remember? Do you remember back in, I guess it was August or September? I made a prediction on Phillies. No, actually, at the beginning of the season, I made a prediction on Phillies numbers. Remember that, Joe?
Yes, you did.
So they had to hit this mark. They had to hit this mark. They had to hit this mark. Well, here's my next year's big Phillies number.
Okay.
Their first three starters must hit 200 innings each. Absolutely must have 200 innings each.
And I'm
they don't have 3 starters. If they don't have 3 starters to go, and really they need 4 starters to go 200 innings each. But they're not going to get 4 starters to go 200 innings each.
Well, what would your trade-off be?
And I'm going to take it a notch higher off of Frank. Not only do they have to pitch at least 200 innings, my number is 16, but they got to win at least 12 to 14 games apiece.
Well, Dame, if those 3 guys are getting 200 innings, they're going to be in the mix. They're going to be in the mix to win 12 to 14 games each. Okay, but if you don't have those guys eating 600 innings out of the 1,600 that we have to pitch, that's bad.
Well,
you know?
my question:
you need the other two starters, and you need 5 to get us to at least 900 innings.
Well,
or else you better fill your bullpen with guys who have some mainstay.
You hit on 2 points that I want to hit on, and that is the lack of having a 5th starter. And this is where I feel like Painter or Abel interchangeably could be that 5th starter, because I do feel like Bailey Falter is going to have a role on this team as far as what happens going forward, whether it's through starter or long relief. Him and Nick Nelson are going to be, are going to be huge on contributors to this team. Now, the question I have for you, Frank, is would you trade off a fourth starter that will pitch 200 innings for a bullpen similar to the way that the Astros bullpen played last season? Would you trade off that for? Okay, because that's the question. That is in my mind. It's not yes having those three starters that eat 200 innings apiece. I completely agree with you, Frank. I do, because that means you have three monsters at that top of your
Right.
rotation. But
Right.
my other concern is what happens when the bottom falls out in the bullpen. We talked about it last year, and it was my major concern at the beginning of last season. And it's not as much of a concern because I liked what they did, but you have to grow on it. Now you have me amped up for this bullpen, Dabrowski. Now you have to add to it. You can't just
Well, I
let
think you will.
sleeping dogs lie.
Yeah, well, Dave's not a he doesn't stand still. He's a transient general manager that moves when he has to move, and I believe that he's got this organization going in the right direction. I know he's got some faith in the younger guys in Painter and Abel, and he's going to bring them up. I think Bradley Falter's role will be dictated by whether or not he develops a third pitch. Because if he doesn't develop a third pitch, he will never be a starter.
I agree.
He will be relegated to a setup man.
Or long relief.
He doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough juice to. He doesn't have enough juice to be a closer. He doesn't have to get a volume speed on his fastball. But he could be a good setup man. He could be a very good setup man.
I feel like the same could be true for Nick Nelson. He needs to develop that third pitch. If you have the pitching coach develop these two to get their third pitch ready for next season, you have two viable, along with Painter and Abel, you have some viable arms that you can really like interchange and put in really interesting positions throughout the season. Because like we said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you're going to be able to put them in very interesting positions. And I believe in Rob Thompson. I believe that he is good with what positions he put people in.
It'll be we're gonna revisit this topic after the meetings. And see where we stand and play out the rumors. But this next question I'm going to throw to you, Damon.
Real quick before we go. So Painter and Abel, let's say they do bring in another starter. Obviously, you can't have both of them up. You'll have one. What do you? So you're thinking Wheeler?
It would be Wheeler, Nola,
Alvarez.
Mark. Well,
Alvarez.
It would be whoever you would bring in. Alvarez would either be the 3 or 4, depending on who you would bring in. If it's a Corey Kluber, Alvarez would go to the 4. If it's someone like, the guy that you mentioned earlier, James, about
Evaldi.
Yeah,
Evaldi.
I feel like if it's Evaldi, I feel like Ranger goes to the 3 and Evaldi goes to the 4. It depends on who that person they pick up in that thing. That's where Ranger position slides to. But as far as that 5th starter, that has to be a priority. I am not going to deal with if they go into next season knowing they need more arms, that they go into next season saying every 5th game is going to be a bullpen game. I'm going to have
I don't want that.
I think
that's why you have to bring one of these kids have to come up.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Painter's job. That's going to be Painter's job to lose in spring. So, and we will revisit this, and we got plenty of time to talk about it. I just wanted to bring that subject up because of the signing of DeGrom. David, I'm going to throw this one at you because what I witnessed this week, I was not happy with. Did the Sixers mail in the last 2 games?
No, I saw that in your pre. No, and I'm gonna say why. Not even. I think that a couple things happened with the Sixers this week, and hear me out when I say this. You come off a road trip off of Florida. You come back home Monday. You're back on the road in Ohio. And Doc said people took out, he said schedule loss. It wasn't like a schedule. The schedule made it such they kind of figured they might lose. Now, last night's game, to me, what I thought happened was, I'm looking at Facebook and these ridiculous about Embiid. And listen, Adams was great on the offensive board. I think the Sixers, it's caught up to them. What I mean is, Shake and Melton gave you a lot in their starting roles. But I believe if we had at least either Harden or Maxey, that would have been a different outcome. I wanted that game because it lost 8 straight down to Memphis. So the good thing is Harden's coming back on Monday. So with that said, it's 2 games. I mean, I got to give him credit, man. He held the fort down with those guys out. That was 77 points missing. You bring your other guy back in, now everybody can kind of step into their roles again. Because here's what I'm saying, Frank. It's a prime example. Last night, when you notice they would get it down to 8 and 6, right? But look at the lineup. Yeah. You had House Jr. in there, who I like. Role
yeah,
play.
I know.
You had
I know he's playing with.
Yeah, no, it's difficult, and then you're playing that team with that kind of player and John Morant and the other guys. It made it difficult. Now, listen, people can say what they want to blame Doc and beat. I get it, fine. But I honestly like what I've been seeing. I think that when Harden comes back Monday, everyone goes into their role. And I'm expecting him to go on a roll, man. And Max, he'll be back a few weeks after. So we'll see.
So
we'll see. I don't think they bagged it in though. Nah. I didn't get that at all. I didn't get that at all.
I didn't watch the whole game last night because I've been, we're doing our Thanksgiving tomorrow because we've dealt with a lot of colds last week. So yesterday, I don't know what time. If you saw my show list come across, it was like 12:50. That's literally the time I got to sit down and put together a show list question. So I didn't watch much of the game, but I did watch a quarter and a half, and I was not happy with the way I was watching Embiid play. Now, a lot of it could be because they came off the road and they're tired, but Embiid didn't play all that much. he was out, and it just looked to me like. I mean, I don't want to say this because it's just wrong to say it this way, but it just looked to me like he just didn't care to be there last night. He just didn't.
No, he had 35 points, Frank.
Well, when I was watching, he was a stick man standing there.
No, he was inside.
Then I got busy. I had to leave. So he might have redeemed himself later, but I didn't have time to sit down and watch the game.
Yeah, he had 35. He was doing what he does. He was rebounding. Yeah. I mean, he took Adams inside a few times when he could. Now there was times I was like, I didn't like some of his shots that he took. And here's the other thing. This is key. This is what caught up to them. And it's someone, Cuz said it this week, but I saw it last night. They've been playing without a point guard.
Oh yeah.
And they desperately needed a point guard last night. They desperately needed a point guard last night. So
here's a side question. I
can't squeeze on 35 points and 11 rebounds and 3 blocks. I can't.
Yeah. Here's a question on the game.
2 weeks.
Yeah. Here's a question for you, Dave. Is Ja Morant their version of Maxey?
Sure as hell looks like.
I know he carries the ball an awful lot. I know that damn much.
Well, he plays with Maxey's enthusiasm. Yeah.
No, he's great. I'm not going to take that away. The kid's great.
Yeah, he plays. I think he plays with Maxey's enthusiasm for the game.
That's a great question. So here's what I look at the Sixers. This is a great question, Frank. The Sixers have a little bit of everything. They got Embiid, they got Harden, but Maxey's that spark. I'm watching the Lakers in Milwaukee last night. Last night was fluky. Like the team that we're about to play, Houston, beat the Suns. The Lakers coming. Lakers are playing better. I'm just starting to wonder. I'm not sold on it. I'm not even 10% on it. I'm maybe 3%. When Harden does come back, when Maxey does come back, do you take somebody and put him to the bench? Because Westbrook is coming off the bench. Obviously, he's playing starter minutes, but he's coming off the bench.
He's paying for starter money, too.
Yeah, all of that. So I'm wondering if that could be a move for them. But we'll see, man.
I would like,
I just gotta say this.
As much as I like
just find it really interesting. And you're not the only one. I had a conversation with my buddy last week about Embiid, man. It's like, and no disrespect, Frank, it's like veteran cats like me, like everyone, if you don't see him in the post, people freak out. And I'm like, listen,
I'm an old
man,
school guy.
So
listen, I get it. But here's what I've done for myself. I've accepted the fact that I do see him in the post. I've accepted the fact, which I don't like him dribbling into the post. Last night he did a move, it worked. I think he works too hard when he does that. Doc Rivers says something about him having to face the basket. It's a lot easier on the team as opposed to him posting up all the time. I kind of see that because of the way the floor is spread. But the guy can get buckets, right?
Yeah.
And so when people say, I need him this, I'm like, he's getting you buckets.
So
and I don't know what else. Like, last night he could have used Maxey or Harden, if not both, definitely won. Because even Tobias had a good game.
I'll put it this way.
Tobias had a good game.
I'll put it this way. I mean, I love the fact that Embiid has that outside shot, because it's rare when a man that big has touch and finesse from the outside. And
Patrick Ewing was the only one I remember in Elijah one. Patrick Ewing had a baseline jumper.
The only thing I'll say about him going to the post is that I wish he would do it just a little bit more. Only because if he does that, he's going to create so much space in the perimeter that it will give guys time to make a setup three. It just will, And I mean, it's because they're going to have to go down and defend that. They're going to have to send a second defender down to guard that post position.
Right. Here's what I'm saying, what Doc is saying on that. So you're right. What happens is, because these guys in today's game are so athletic, let's say he crowds down the post. Let's say 3 guys post up on him. Now, in order for this to work, he's going to need his teammates to step in to help, because that cross-court pass either is going to get made or not and tipped off. So the other thing is that I believe when Harden comes back on Monday, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to go up. Harden's a smart player. I learned that about him since he's been here. Very smart.
Just a little bit. He's a little bit smart.
I think he's so
that's sarcasm.
So when I see that working as far as that combination, you're going to probably see a little bit more of what you're looking for. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think he's the issue. I just think it's a matter of them getting their players, man. I think last night, it was the Cleveland game, and the officiating has been horrible. He dunked the ball. This blew my mind. 2-handed dunk, Frank.
Yeah.
The guy appeared to block it, Joe, but he actually was a goaltender. He standed down hard in the post. I should have been a goal, and we didn't get the call.
The officiating, when I was watching the game, the officiating was terrible. There was a play under the rim. They called who did they call for that foul? And he wasn't anywhere near him, and they called him for the foul on it. And
I'm going to go a different way.
I'm
going to go a different way about this last couple of games.
Yeah,
and I've been kind of saying this for a while, and I'm going to re-preach it, and it feels like it's been more on display than it should be, and that is the ineptitude of Doc Rivers being able to coach due to matchups. Last night, Steven Adams had 15 rebounds. I think 11 of them were offensive. Here's the difference. Now, Dame, I was on this show a couple weeks ago where I had let in on Joel Embiid because I felt like he was not as aggressive as he normally was the last 2 seasons. I felt like he took his foot off the gas a little. Now, I'm rescinding that opinion, but I'm rescinding it only because last night showed me one major thing. Joel can't do all the rebounding, and you have Tobias at the 4, and he's not a rebounder. He's over at the 3-point line, or he's out, outside the keys, so you don't have that rebound help. And this is where I go with the Doc Rivers ineptitude. If you know you're getting out rebound, put someone else in there to help Joel get rebounds. Montrezl Harrell, PJ Tucker, someone who could be gritty, bang with the boards, get aggressive, and give your team more opportunities. That was at one point a 6-point game. You brought this up earlier, team. That means if you have more rebounds, offensive rebounds, if you take possessions away from your opposing team by grabbing rebounds, that means you have a better likelihood of winning that game. And I feel like this falls on Doc. I don't feel like he's creating the right strategic matchups for each of the games that he is a part of. Look, you got out rebounded. But that shouldn't be the reason why you lose, because that's an easy coach fix. You call timeout and you put someone else in there to help Joel. Joel waved off 2 people, Paul Reed once and someone else another time in that game, waved them off from coming in because he wanted to win that game. You don't help your big man out if you don't give him help down below so that he can do his thing and the team can still thrive. There's no big rebounder. I go back to 2001. Look at Tyrone Hill. He was not the most aggressive guy. Him and like a George Lynch. Those guys were never going to be all-stars, but what did they do? They mucked it up underneath. They got rebounds. They gave AI and that team more opportunities. They took away opportunities from those other teams to have second chance points. I haven't looked at the second chance points from last night's game, but I'm sure they're absurd.
No,
Memphis Grizzlies.
It was bad, and you're not wrong. And I thought he could have used Montrez. Again, last week people would say he did a good job. The last couple of games. The Cleveland game, I watched the first half. I happened to fall asleep. I'm glad I did. It got smoked. That was whatever. But I'm expecting him to bounce back on Monday. And, we're gonna see what happens by Christmas. Max, he'll be back. And listen, but, hey, I get it. You guys aren't wrong. I will judge Doc Rivers or assess. That's a better word. I don't like to judge you, but assess. It's playoffs for me with him. To me, I'm going to stick with this. They have the pieces now. They have the pieces. It's a matter of them, because the good thing about, if there's any good about those guys being out, the Miltons, the Reeds, those guys got a lot of play.
I'll
got a lot of experience.
I'll pose this question, especially to James, but to everyone, but to James might understand this a little bit more. Back in the early 2000s, the Philadelphia Flyers could have like the most mundane season, but somehow you could wake up and they would be in the playoffs. Yeah. You didn't understand it. They didn't have like a superstar, season, but they would just make the playoffs. It would be like a given thing. Do you guys feel like the Sixers are that team in the NBA right now, that they're having the most mundane season, but they're just waiting to just get into the playoffs? They're just trying to punch their ticket, no matter if it's the 8th seed or the 1st seed.
And they're not far from the 3rd seed. They're literally like one game from the 3rd seed.
But I mean,
that's where you want to be.
The one phrase that I heard, and there's certain phrases I don't like to hear, but when your head basketball coach says that was a scheduled loss, I want to fire him then.
No. Joey. No. He did not say scheduled loss.
That's what he did.
No.
And I quote.
King Tay talked about it. No. He said schedule loss, meaning the schedule.
Not schedule.
Was such
no
that
ED.
Could possibly be a loss. He did not say, and I know Johnny Marks went off on that. That was wrong. No. He said schedule loss. And that's how, and somebody said he could have worded it differently. Even Bob Cooney said, listen, he could have maybe have worded it differently, but he did not say that. Nah. He didn't say schedule, Joe. He said schedule. And I get that. They just came back from Orlando, excuse me. They're back in Philly. They go back out on the road to a different time zone. Again, I know they're pros, but hey, listen. The bottom line is this with the Sixers for me. When this dude comes back Monday and this other young fella comes back, we'll get to. I'm going to go on a limb and say they're going to go on a nice run, and you're going to feel a lot better about that team.
Listen,
I'm seeing too many positives.
I get the vernacular difference. I get all that, but Dame, I was able to see the schedule weeks before the season started. So was the coach. So was everybody else.
Yeah, but Joe,
you
when
got
you look at the schedule, Joe, hold it. When you looked at the schedule, you didn't expect to be one of your top 2 players to be out, did you?
No, but you gotta. That's where a coach has to earn his money. He has to earn his money.
He didn't earn his money with 77 points on the bench, and they won 7 out of 10 games. It's most on the road.
Not if you're going. Not if you're going in there and giving me a reason why you lost is because the NBA scheduled your team the way they did.
But Joe,
that is a reflection.
Joe, that's not fair though. Here's what I'm saying. That's not fair. The man. Forget words. Words don't mean shit. Excuse my language. Forget words. Words don't mean anything. It's action. So if he goes, hold it. If he takes his team on that run, whoever they play, right, and people let me go back. They beat some very good teams. The Milwaukee's, the Nets, the Phoenix Suns in that run. Okay, you beat the Utah Jazzes. You beat some solid teams with your 77 points on the bench, right? This is where I get mixed up when people go at Doc Rivers. When you want to give him credit, you don't really want to give him the credit because people have disdain against him. I get it. It's fine. You're not the only one. My brother feels the same way. My other friend, I get it. I'm not here to champion Doc Rivers. But what I am saying is this. Other than giving him at this point, it matters what he does in the playoffs. We could break down the Cleveland game. We could break down Memphis game. And you're not wrong. But to sit up here and say you saw the schedule like he did, but you didn't know that your 3 Hogs was going to be out either. And to manage that, that you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't have a
to be fair, it's 2 because you had Embiid, you had a guy as MVP, you have a guy that
just came back.
No, I understand that, but what I'm getting at is this: is that you can't, even if Doc believed that, don't put it out there like that.
No,
don't make it a headline, because here's the thing: that's where someone like me is going to go, oh, he felt like the NBA screwed him, or the circumstances screwed him. Look, circumstances being what they are, you have to sometimes roll with the punches. And I mean, I'll be honest.
Not the only coach. I've heard several coaches say schedule and
I get it. Yeah, but I mean, but here's my feeling is, okay, if you feel that way, then you need to, don't you think as a coach, to game plan that game, don't you think you have to figure, okay, on the plane ride over, I have to.
Well, who's to say he didn't though, Joe?
Well, it didn't work out.
Right. Again, so let's take Embiid for instance. That game, Frank, that to me, the Cleveland game was an okay game as opposed to last night. I factored that Embiid would have an okay game because when he came back Monday and he played really well against who they beat, Atlanta. He dropped 35 points on his first game back after 2 weeks. Humanly speaking, right? Your body's going to feel like, and I'm in a different time zone. It's not going to, it's like, oh, I'm playing ball again. The first game to me is emotion, energy, adrenaline. The second was like, man, I got to get rolling. Last night, I got to keep it rolling. So I get it, man. It's just like, I feel like with the Sixers is going to be like this all year. I just would love for them to go on a 10-game winning streak and just kind of quiet some people down a little bit.
Well,
that would suffice me.
You know my feelings. The NBA doesn't start till Christmas anyway. You know,
y'all always say that. I know.
Yeah, I mean,
although the records are in the book though.
But isn't the season halfway over by Christmas?
Not as far as the numbers are concerned.
Okay.
You know, I just look at everything before Christmas as preseason.
Yeah, and listen, like I said, last night the Houston Rockets beat the Phoenix Suns.
Right.
You know what I don't like about the NBA? I'm not liking this home and home stuff. So Miami loses against Boston, but they beat them last night. I don't like the home and home stuff, man.
Well, even
No.
in Orlando, where you had 2 straight games
Yeah.
for the Sixers in Orlando, like that's just such a weird. This isn't
I don't like that.
baseball. This
That does
isn't
nothing for me.
baseball. So
Right.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, Dame, you make very valid point in the sense that the teams they've beaten, but at the same time, what's the other adage that you have to beat the teams that are weaker than you?
No,
And-
and so Joe, and let me say this: you're 110% correct. That's why I'm saying for me, I'm waiting for 2 things: for Harden and Maxey to come back, they stay healthy, and it's about the seeding. So right now, here's where we are. Had they beaten Cleveland on Wednesday, they would have had the 3 seed. Right now, they're still at 5. They win a couple of games, Cleveland lose, they jump into that 3 seed. You want to jump by Christmas, by Frank's starting date of the season, right? Right? You
Season
want to
opener.
me, they want to be in the top 3 seed and sustain that and build upon that. That's a goal that I think that they can get to.
How long will it take Maxey and Harden with the team once they come back for them to gel?
I don't think long because I think
No, I don't think long
Harden
either.
Yeah, Harden's smart, but here's where it counts though, Joe. Here's where you're going to look at. I'm going to be right there with you. I want to see what Doc does with the lineup when they come in there. And here's what I'm talking about. He has to have that feeling. Let's say they're playing Boston, right? And Harden's not grooving, but all of a sudden, Melton is.
Right.
Do I bench Harden for Melton? Like, you know what I mean?
No.
Like,
You ride the hot hand.
I want to see stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know?
And
don't be afraid because it's about winning these games.
right.
You know?
And who cares? I mean, look, Harden's already proven he's a team player. And
Right.
and so when you have a situation like that with Melton, Doc needs to understand, look, I don't need to put you've debated this with me plenty of times, Dame. As I say, do you put Toby on the bench and how if you do, like, what does that look like as far as the money? And you're like, the money is the money. And I get it. So with Harden, the money's the money. Like, look, you've already paid him. You're already gonna pay him. If Melton is having a hot game, let the man play because he's already proven.
Right.
And I think this is what this little stunt of games has shown us, that we have some really good pieces on that bench.
We do,
Really
and
good
it's
pieces.
going to help us down the road in at the end of the season. It's going to help us, and I believe
Yeah.
it's going to help us better than last year's bench did in
Yeah.
the playoffs.
And that's
Yes.
what Joey, and I get it, Joe. I get it. You want to see that. You want to see sharpness from your coach. And
I
Joe,
wanna
you're not
see-
wrong.
I want to see a shark mentality.
Yeah, you
I
want to
want
see
him-
sharp, but sharpness in terms
Yeah.
of your rotations. And dude, I'm with you. I am so with you.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I can't, like, I know he's going to go through the season, right? It was iffy in the beginning, but he's turned it around a little bit. So it's on him come playoffs.
Yes.
And he can't give us the schedule. He can't give us.
No.
Those excuses run out.
TNT gave us 7:00, but ESPN gave us 8:00 start time.
Yeah.
Like, I can't, that is out the window.
Those excuses have a clock, and they will run out. They will
Yeah.
be
No,
midnight.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Listen, I'm with you. I'm with you. Good
Okay,
stuff, good stuff, Joe.
now, let's talk about our 10-1 Philadelphia Eagles. Now,
before you go any further,
the
Frank,
record.
I got to do one more ad. I got to do
Yes,
a couple
sir.
more ads. And today's show is proudly sponsored by Dolan's Bar, and that is at 24 East Sellers Avenue, Windley Park. Includes December to Remember stuff, including last night. Ziggy and the Moondogs were there last night. The Real Gons are there tonight, playing all 50s and 60s rock and roll. And right around Christmas time, December the 16th, the Christmas Tabernacle Choir doing Christmas 30 Christmas carols. I wonder how that would be. and every Eagles game.
Time.
Yeah, it does sound like a fun time. And every Eagles game includes an $8 cheesesteak and memorabilia giveaway. So check out DolansBar.com and see what's been going on. And also let's see what's been going to be happening for Dolan Sport in the next couple weeks ahead.
I'll tell you this.
I
I'm
just
pretty sure
before
Dolan
we go
does-
any further, I just want to give you a little bit of bad news. The Netherlands just went up on us 1-0.
Oh wow!
Okay.
Say it again. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Netherlands
Just went up on us 1-0. So
Ooh,
before we
not
go,
good.
before we talk,
Not good,
before we
James.
get into our
Nope.
before we get into our Eagles,
Hold up, Frank.
Okay.
Because Netherlands plays good defense, but I'm done.
so our record is 10-1, and there's somebody in our network that needs to be a man. All right, and I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to say his name, but he needs to be a man, and he needs to be honorable. And I need some comeuppance. And that's all I'm going to say on that. I'm going to give the man a chance. I'm going to give the man a chance to be a man. Okay? You have your chance to be a man. Right? So here we go. So the Eagles are 10-1. And in my opinion, playing the best running back they're going to see the rest of the year. King Henry is a beast. He's different than everybody else they're going to play, simply because if you try and arm tackle this cat, and you try those Olay kind of tackles, he's going to gain 200 yards on the Eagles. And you got to hit this guy in the mouth and keep hitting him in the mouth, or else you're not going to win this game. I think the Eagles are going to win the game. I don't think it'll be a problem because I think we get Mr. Davis back this week. They haven't said anything about this. He's been practicing with the team, and they haven't said that Jordan Davis is not playing. They haven't deactivated him for the game. And I'd be really interested to see the rotation of Davis, Linval, and Sue in the middle. That would be fun to watch because that's a lot of manpower there.
Murderer's Row.
Yes, it clogs up a lot of space, but you still have to use your body to tackle the king. Okay, and the Eagles have a real problem tackling. So it could be a long day for us and a nail-biting day, but they have to put that team in a situation where Tannehill will have to beat us, and that kid can't beat us. He can't.
Frank, I had a flash of him rushing for 210 yards. I'm not kidding you. I don't know why.
Oh man.
I mean, look. This is a guy.
James said, "Oh man."
Well, what did I just say? I said if you arm tackle, he's going to get 200 yards over.
And
you arm tackle that guy.
I can see them not tackling. Oh my God.
This is a guy in King Henry that's just coming off a really bad game with 39 yards rushing. And so you got to keep in mind, this guy, he feels like, oh, well, I got to come out and play my ass off in this game. And if Jordan Davis, this is how I'm going to frame it. I had the Tennessee Titans on my schedule in the beginning of the season as a loss for the Eagles. And I could tell you why. Because I didn't have any confidence in our run defense. And I still don't. However.
Or the defensive coordinator.
Well,
I'm not going to get into that right now. Don't open that can of worms.
That's not a can of worms, my friend. That's not a can of worms. I'm sorry,
Joe.
That is a cargo carrier full of worms.
So here's my feeling is if Jordan Davis is back for this week, this will be a different game because, my friends, I've heard he's lost 20 pounds. I've heard that he is energized. I heard he is wanting to make a statement. And what better statement than the old adage, if you're going to shoot at the king, you best not miss. Well, Jordan Davis best not miss. And that's going to be the key, is that he's going to be the key to this game. Because my feeling is Fletcher Cox is cooked. My feeling is, Robert Quinn has been a non-factor.
Robert Quinn,
been quiet.
That's not fair. That's not fair to Quinn because when they picked Quinn up, Quinn is a pass rush specialist, and when they picked him up, they picked him up to help out on third down. Well, what have the Eagles done the last 3 weeks that have put teams in third down and long situations? Not a damn thing.
Right.
Okay. Teams are running on us, and it's third and short. That's not the situation Quinn is called for. Quinn is a third and long guy, and if the Eagles' rush defense does what they're supposed to do and puts Tannehill in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, you're going to see Quinn get in the game this week, and you're going to see him have an effect.
He's not playing tomorrow.
Wow.
Quinn isn't? Why?
No.
He's hurt.
His foot, both he and Carter
CJ Garden Johnson.
CJ Garden, they're both out
because of the laceration.
Yeah, he's not on the IR, but yeah, they said Quinn is out. He's not playing.
And so my feeling is this, the guy that we put so much pride in on this defensive line in Fletcher Cox, I don't give a damn what you did against the Packers.
He had a good
game. You want to make hay, you do it again. The Titans are 7-2 in their last 9 games. This is a heavyweight bout, and we need to have the guys that are the heavyweights to punch with King Henry.
Their defense is legit. I mean, it's not. They're not doing this by accident. Their defense is legit. It's because King Henry buys them the time to rest up. This defense comes out on the field with fresh legs, and they need to really clamp down on King Henry 1st and 2nd down, so they can put Tannehill in long situations. And I see you shaking your head, Damon, and I feel the same way. But
no,
it's
I'm shaking my head for a different reason. You're right, but I'm shaking my head. That's not the only thing they have to stop. Special teams have to get control of field position. Special teams have to put us in a position where this guy's not running midfield, playing half the field, Joe. Special teams, listen, I listened to Ike Reese a little bit this week. He said something profound. You have to want to play on special teams. The Rod Hoods, the Quentin Michaels, those dudes, they were undrafted free agents. Quentin Michael turned himself into a Pro Bowl player off of special teams.
Yeah.
Okay? You got to go out there. You have one job to do. One job. So that, I'm sorry, Frank, I'm with you, but that's where it starts. You cannot allow them field position at the link tomorrow.
Listen, I have agreed with Nick Sirianni's coaching up to this point, and for the most part, but I have to critique him on one thing. He goes, well, what do you expect us to do? Make like a roster change, roster move? Like, yes, you have Devin Allen, who's a freaking sprinter, who, if he catches the ball, I don't care if he had, I would put that guy at the jug machine to have him catch balls. I would just, that's what you're doing, dude. You're not going to be a receiver. You're not going to be a running back. You're catching punts and kickoffs. Sprinter, and I've said this before, is that someone like a Devin Hester and a Dante Hall, those guys were also sprinters. And look at what they did. So just follow the formula that works and stop trying to reinvent the wheel.
Well, see, I don't think they're trying to reinvent the wheel, Joe. I don't think they're trying to reinvent the wheel. I don't think they know how to fix the wheel that's broken. Because when I see a team in today's NFL fielding a kick in the end zone and running it out, it's telling me our players are not staying in their lanes. That's what it's telling me. Because if they're seeing something that's, they're automatically saying we can get past the 25-yard line. If we take this out here, we know they're not going to play well over here, so we can get past the 20. They're looking for the net gain on the back end. And NFL coaches don't take chances. So they're telling their special teamers, this is how they play. They don't stay in their lanes. Take that ball out. If it's only 5 yards deep, take that ball out because you're going to wind up at the 30, 35-yard line. That's a net gain of 10 yards in field position, and that's what they'll play for. That tells me they're not working hard enough on special teams in practice, or they have the wrong personnel doing it, because obviously the coaches in the NFL see the flaw because they're exposing the flaw every single week.
So this is what I think may have happened this week. Ike talked about it. He didn't say it directly, but he alluded to it. One thing about Howie Roseman, and we saw it in the past few weeks by signing Lindell Joseph and Sue, he needed to tighten up that inner defensive line, right? The interior of the defensive line. He went ahead and did it. And Sirianni can say what he want to say, Frank, but Howie's the one next to Jeffrey signing those checks. Howie had a meet with those special team guys this week. And I bet he told one or two of them, I need you to make a play. One thing about Howie Roseman, people say what they want to say and critique. He's not a football guy. Let him be the number, whatever. The dude is always trying to win. I like a guy like that in my foxhole. So I don't have a problem. Want to tell one of these players, go make a play.
Are we trying to say that Howie Roseman's had an impact? I mean, I'm sure there's somebody on this network who's had a completely different opinion than this. And, not that I'm trying to call him out on this, but, maybe that guy should get in touch with us for reasons other than just, But go ahead.
No.
Howie's
And you know what's funny?
guy.
You say that too? Let's go back to the Super Bowl year, James.
Yep. Excuse me.
On a sneak, he signed Jay Ajayi, right?
Yep.
For a rush for 200 yards in 2 or 3 different games, whatever the case may be.
Night,
awesome signing. Didn't have much left, but enough for us to help us win, right?
Yeah.
So when I think about Howie, and he knows it's at stake, and we didn't even touch upon it yet about the playoff scenario. We'll get to that, I'm sure. He's going to do everything, Joe, to make sure every rock is turned over. And that means if I got to go to Sirianni, your cousin Gannon, Joe, if I got to go to the special teams coach and let them know, tighten this ship up, you're going to see a different play this week. I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
I really
he's
hope
not
so.
He's not letting that slip by, man. He's too good of a GM for that. Mm-mm.
Well, let's hope you're right because what happens in the playoffs. Whatever weakness you have in the playoff gets exposed and exploited to no end. And special teams is, you can't mess around in the playoffs with special teams. It will break
it cost you a game, Frank. We've seen it happen.
Yes, it can.
We've seen it happen in all of us. All of us.
Yes.
All of us have seen that happen through the years of football. Playoff special teams do a goof play, or a guy runs. Your team just scored a touchdown. Brings the momentum back to your side, and the guy runs back 60, 70 yards. Now the momentum shifts. You can have that, man.
Let's not go that far back, and let's just keep in mind of what happened on Sunday Night Football. Is fourth quarter, the Eagles kick off to the Packers, and they give up a really quality run back by the Packers, and Jordan Love goes down and scores a touchdown. And now, all of a sudden, every Eagles fan is going, oh, God, what just happened? And, this is the thing you have to worry about, is the momentum swing, what happens when a team returns the ball to a 45 or a 50. Then all of a sudden, even though if you're up by 10 points, there's still a momentum swing, no matter who it is that's quarterbacking. Jordan Love hasn't picked up a football in the National Football League in close to 2 years. And this is a guy who came in and was like firing all cylinders. And I have to say, like, you face a team that's not with a Jordan Love. You face a team that's got a better receiving core than the Packers, and there's a lot of them out there. You are going to get burned if you let up that momentum swing late in a game. That's the difference between winning and losing.
But, Joe, this is to the point going back to tomorrow's game, or bringing it back to tomorrow's game. This is what we're saying. You're 100% correct. You give them a half of a field to work with. Oh, I'm just handing the ball off to Henry. Now you're making it harder for our defense, right?
Yep.
And 20 yards to a field goal. If you give them at the 50 and you hand it off to Henry, all Henry has to do is get you 20 yards to get you in field goal range. And that, I don't care if people want to say, oh, that's just a field goal. That's points.
That's points.
It's points.
Yeah. And giving him the momentum to break one.
Yeah. And look, there's a difference when a team goes on a 10 to 17 point run, especially in NFL, because unlike in other sports, when you have that type of run, sometimes that could be a backbreaker. But if you're giving the other team the opposition the ability to come back from that backbreaker, then you're letting the foot off the gas. And I'll just chime in with this, right? As a side note, Mr. Gannon, in my opinion, you need to understand what coverage looks like in order to put your players in the right position. Blankenship, as much as anybody wants to say, this is a guy who's got an interception on Aaron Rodgers who Slay is envious of because he wanted that pickoff.
Never
And
had one.
to be fair, Slay it hit you in the head, so that's on you.
Yeah,
But
it
but
did hit him in the head.
but with Blankenship, you have to understand when he made those great plays when he first came in, everyone was like, "Oh, okay." But then you have Jonathan Gannon, and you have the ineptitude of that guy when he puts that player in the worst possible position and he gets burned for a 40, 50-yard reception. That's not on him. That's on the defensive coordinator because you're not putting him in the right position. So
And
get
he
your
was
head out your
involved in
ass,
those 2
Mr. Gannon.
touchdowns, Joe. You're right.
That's the difference.
Yeah, his Blankenship's missed coverage.
Put
When
them back
the
in
guy
the
scored
game.
on Epps, Blankenship was supposed to come across over the top, and he didn't, and that's when they got the touchdown on Epps. But again, to your point,
I can't really blame
coaching.
Blankenship for that because
No, I'm not.
No, Joe's
Frank.
not.
I'm
it's
not.
coaching. We're saying it's coaching.
Yeah.
It's coaching. He put him in the
it's experience too. I mean, the kid is an undrafted rookie.
Well, the coverage put Blankenship in under the 20-yard line, under 20 yards of the line of scrimmage, which is not a cover 2 or an over-the-top cover 2. And he basically said, and when you're up by 10 points, you can play a Tampa 2 or a cover 2 with an umbrella. But he didn't even put Blankenship up there to have that opportunity. He moved him up, and that's why I'm saying that's coaching.
Yeah.
That is scheme. Yeah. That is like, look, I'm not going to put my guy in a way to fail.
There's so many things we can go after Gannon about on coaching. It's not funny.
Yeah. We can spend another hour on that alone because of the fact that he's just had so much. And look, NFL, coaching, GM guys, ownership. You want to take this guy and let him be your head coach? Go right ahead. It'll be another Joe Judge
I'll drive
moment.
him to the airport.
It'll be another Joe Judge moment. I can promise you that.
I didn't realize he's been in the league for like 15 years coaching.
Why?
Coaching?
Was that Gannon?
How?
Yeah.
How?
Really? Joe, I'm with you. I was shocked. I think it's either 13 or 15 years I saw. I was like, wow.
This is a family show. I'm not going to get into how that could have been.
I don't know how you can make a reputation for yourself as a defensive coach playing soft. I don't get it because he plays soft, and that's what's aggravating to us as a fan base. We do not like soft defensive play. If you're getting beat on defense because we don't have the personnel to cover and you're playing hard, that's okay. We can live with that. But when we got the personnel, and we do have the personnel, and they're playing soft, that's aggravating. That is,
Frank. It pains me. It pains me as from my childhood to see, the great defenses, the coordinators. I'm not even talking about the defense. I'm just talking about the great defensive coordinators that's come through this town, and the style of defenses that we played. And it pains me, like you said, we have the talent. I'm sitting there going, why aren't we blitzing on this down? Why aren't we bringing the house? And if you don't get there, right, at least, Joe, you put in the quarterback's head, there's a possibility they're coming. You're not facing Tom Brady's. You're not facing the New England Patriots Tom Brady every week, okay? Right. You're not facing that guy. And even then, Jimmy Johnson, guy was sold through a blitz or 2 on him in the Super Bowl.
Well, here's the bad news. Here's the bad news on that front. Here's the bad news on that front. Tomorrow, if the Eagles fail to produce offensively, it's because Jim Schwartz's defense shut us down. Because that's Jim
Schwartzy's over there.
Yes, he is.
Dude.
So if I am Hurts, if I'm Hurts, this is what I'm doing all day. Throwing 1 yard short of the sticks because that's where Schwartz's defense is going to be at the sticks. You're going to complete passes all day long, huh?
I need them to go early, Joe, Frank, James. Go deep with Devontae early on, set the tone.
No, you know what I want? I want Jim Schwartz to go over to AJ Brown and talk mad stuff like he did against the Detroit Lions the one time when he was our defensive coordinator. And AJ Brown.
AJ's got his own motivation for wanting to play.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And this is where I speak from a little bit of ignorance because Dame brought up a really valid point. Buddy Ryan was a defensive head coach, but who was Buddy's defensive coordinator during those years with Reggie and Clyde and Seth Joyner? Do you guys remember?
Oh,
it wasn't anybody.
Yeah, the former. It was I see his face. The former Tennessee Titans coach.
Yes.
Mike Fisher. Jeff Fisher?
Yes, Jeff Fisher.
Jeff Fisher.
Okay.
Right.
Because
Jeff Fisher.
I will, second the notion of what Dame's saying. Because if you go to like those Buddy Ryan years, yes, Buddy was a defensive guy, but his defensive coordinator had to be good too. And Jeff Fisher is proof of that. And then you go from that to Andy's era, and you go to the great Jim Johnson, and then even after Jim Johnson, the Sean McDermott's.
Well, you had hold up real quick, Joe. When Buddy got fired in Kotite, you had Bud Carson come in.
Oh.
Yes.
And Bud Carson, that was the defense that year. When Randall went down, that defense was like, God, man. That's the year that Randall got hurt against Green Bay, the first game of the season. That defense was on fire under Bud Carson.
Player's name was Bryce Pop that took out.
Can we make a note here?
That defense was on fire.
I know that, with Frank and the Mia Copa and other people who have done Mia Copas, can we take a moment, not even just to gloat, but just to revel in the idea of what Jalen Hurts has done this past week with
Jalen Hurts is
quarterback to do what he did rushing wise.
Jalen Hurts has answered every single question I've had coming into the season. I need to know nothing else about him. Just get the checkbook out and sign him. That's Jalen Hurts was phenomenal last week, and he's making up for the shortcoming of not having Goddard in the lineup because Goddard
doing what he's got to do.
Goddard is the guy that really stirs the drink because he gets everybody else free. The way that Goddard plays gets everybody else free. And the best way to tell that is if you go back and look at the Dallas game, the Eagles put Micah Parsons in a situation where he either A, had to commit to Dallas Goddard, or B, commit to Jalen Hurts on running plays and had him in the middle the whole day. I haven't seen a team do this to Micah Parsons since he's been in the league. Made him extremely indecisive. And that's why they won the first game. If they don't have Goddard in that Dallas game, Eagles aren't going to win that game if they need it, because Micah Parsons is not going to have to worry about being indecisive. He's just going to take Hurts out of the game. I
mean, when you go to the most rushing yards by a quarterback in Eagles history, in a game that surpasses a Mike Vick, that surpasses a Donovan McNabb, that surpasses Randall Cunningham, you're talking about really good names in this city, and you're talking about guys that, whether you like it or not, the way that they played to try and win the game, that you might not have liked that they used their legs more than their arm from time to time. But I go back to Randall for a minute because Randall was I was a big fan of Randall growing up. He was the guy that kind of got me into being an Eagles fan to begin with. They called him the ultimate weapon. And I start to ask the question, is Jalen Hurts the ultimate weapon 2.0?
Yes and no.
Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go that far?
No, because I'll tell you why. Because Randall could stand flat-footed in the pocket, flick his wrist, and the ball was 75 yards.
80 sometimes on a good 80 sometimes without the wind.
Jalen does not have that. Jalen's got to put his whole body into a throw. You know, Randall would just go back there and just flick, and next
Yeah.
thing you know, it's 75 yards downfield.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable to watch.
Yeah.
And then
That Buffalo game.
if you got
Frank, that Buffalo game
and you
when
were
they had him
third,
in the end zone, and he hit Fred Barnett. That was my God.
Yeah, unbelievable. And if you have him in a jam and they're third and like 18, he just takes the snap, kicks a punt, and goes 92 yards on the punt. I mean, that happened against the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, our quarterback. I mean, Hurts is good, but he ain't that good.
Well, so Joey, you ask a very, very good question, and Frank's right. But here's a flip side of that, right? Shout out to Andy Reid, and I say this: Andy Reid taught me what it meant to build an offensive line. Buddy Ryan taught me what it meant not to build one, and they never gave Randall an offensive line. But you saw what he could do, and then you saw it even more when he goes to Minnesota with that offensive line and what he did that year when they, unfortunately missed the field goal. In Jalen Hurts' case, he took what the defense gave him last week, because Green Bay has a poor rushing defense, obviously.
Right.
I think he's very smart and poised. I shared this with the football coach at my school where I work. He's a teacher as well. And he was surprised. I said, listen, and I'll share this with you guys. I found out Hurts' hold time apparently went from 3.5 to 2.7.
Wow.
And yeah. That's
huge.
And you guys know that was my biggest gripe with him last year, getting the ball out.
Holding the ball too long.
And to
he
go
would
a whole
stuck
second and some
run after
change
first
now.
look.
I'm not asking him to be Tom Brady at 1.5, but man, that's huge. So he's seeing what they're giving him. I can tell he's missing Goddard, but he's managing it. People are concerned about the hits and the rushes, Joey, rightfully so, because I don't like 17 rushes. But again, it's what they gave him. He's protecting his body. He's just making smart choices. And like Frank said, man, at this point, so a couple things has to happen tomorrow. Shout out to Sanders with a great turnaround season. He gets 100 yards, be the first 1,000-yard season. I expect that to happen. We win tomorrow, James, and with some help, we clinch our first playoff spot. And shout out to Sirianni, I believe, to be a first coach in a long time to clinch a playoff spot your first 2 seasons. That's pretty awesome in this Eagles organization.
I don't even think they need help. They automatically clinch.
Okay, fair game.
Yeah,
so
they win, they clinch.
So we get that, and then all you have to play for now, Joe, is home field. And then, Joe, you can maybe start giving somebody some rest. Just a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like on this team we need that rest only because, especially for like Jalen, and this is why I feel the way that I do. I understand everyone's reserve and concern when it comes down to how many times he's running and how many times he's getting hit, but he's playing like, I hate to sound like Herm Edwards, but he's playing to win the game.
Oh yeah,
he plays to win the game. Yeah. And if you hate your quarterback for doing that, regardless of how it is, then you don't deserve to be a fan because you are trying to win the game.
Yeah,
he's not going to have those. He's not going to have those running lanes against this defense tomorrow.
No, he's not. But he's going to. He's an innovative quarterback. When you have a dual threat quarterback, like he is very innovative with what he's doing. And I'll also mention this: the fact that he's been in this system now, first time ever in his career since high school.
Since he was 16.
Since that he's been in a system 2 straight years. Sirianni's trusting him with what he sees on the field. That takes a lot of humbleness from a head coach because we've all seen the stubborn head coaches. No, you're not allowed to do what you want. No, you're not allowed to do. No. Sirianni trusts him, and that is implicitly an asset to this offense.
Joe, Sirianni talked about that this week. How Jalen will come off the field and talk to both he and Steichen. And say, listen, man, I'm seeing this work. And he says, we take that into account. And to your point, that's awesome. That's what you want from your coach. These are grown men making millions and millions of dollars. But to your point, this young man wants to win, and you see it out there. And I said this to somebody over Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna say this on our show. I love Donovan. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah.
But Frank, I never felt when it was that drive that we needed, he would do it. I feel the complete opposite with this kid. I see him.
Yeah.
I'm taking it on our back. This is no knock on Donovan. I'm not starting to Donovan. I'm not doing any of that.
Right.
Donovan was fantastic. They didn't give him weapons in the beginning of his career, which I think stifled him a little bit.
Yep.
But that's for another day. But my point is, when the game's on the line, Joe, I feel all the confidence that this kid's going to drive us down the field. I haven't felt that. Man, I haven't felt that. I'm going to tell you what I did feel it with Donovan. I'm going to tell you what I did when we had T.O. That's about the only time.
Yeah. I'll wrap this up in a way where it's a nice little bow. So in this city, with some of the players and coaches in this city, you have Bryce Harper, complete faith, complete trust from the fan base to that player. Jalen Hurts, complete faith, complete trust in that player. Joel Embiid, complete faith, complete trust in that player. Yeah, the Flyers, we don't know what the hell that's going to be.
Carter Hart.
Right. But Rob Thompson, we have complete faith in that player and in that coach. With Nick Sirianni, we have complete faith. Doc, it's still like the jury's still split. But I could tell you this right now.
The jury's out on Doc. The jury's out. I get you.
But this is how I say it. I don't think that any other city has this much confidence in so many of their top athletes and coaches in this city. Not many towns have that, and we should be very grateful that we all have faith in those specific people and being able to get the job done. Now, look, at the end of the day, Nick Sirianni and this crew, with going into what they have as the record and what they have coming up, they have to prove it. There's proving grounds. Now it's becoming the rubber's meeting the road. You have to put up or shut up. And now, and I think Sirianni knows that. He mentioned that this week as well. He understands that the real work is what comes ahead, not what has already happened.
Did you just say put up or shut up?
Yeah.
I guess somebody has to put up or shut up in our universe.
Yeah,
but
really.
And he's actually running out of time to put up. So he better shut up.
He's not coming off. No, I agree with you, Joe.
Right.
That's well said, man. Yeah, and I'm gonna say this to y'all. To me, the Phillies broke the seal. I got high expectations for the football team, and I do for the basketball team. I think big things is coming, man. I think and the beautiful thing about the Eagles is I gotta keep. Remember 2 years ago, we were the Eagles are old. Now you have Fletcher, Brandon Graham,
Kelsey,
Lane Johnson,
and that's pretty much it.
That's it from the Super Bowl team,
right?
They're
setting up for a 5 to 7 year run.
Yeah.
The Eagles are setting up for a 5 to 7 year run.
And
you can credit Howie for that. Emphasize the name Howie.
Howie. By the way, Frank, Howie gave you guys 2 Christmas gifts in the spring because the Saints are going to be a top 5 pick, James.
Oh, and by the way, we play those Saints later on in the season, and we can better our stock options in that draft.
You know what Howie's? Hey, Damon, you're gonna love this. This is something I thought of this week. You know what Howie's becoming in the NFL?
What's that?
He's becoming the Danny Ainge of the NFL. Nobody wants to pick up the phone.
Good comparison.
When they see his caller ID. Because if Howie's name is on that phone, you're gonna get your pocket pick. You're gonna get something, but you're gonna get your pocket pick.
Yeah.
And I mean, the guys in New Orleans have to be going, I can't believe we don't have a first round pick this year.
Yo, guys, speaking of which, explain that trade to me. I know what happened.
I have no. I
It,
can't
it was
figure
it was
it
a
out.
it was a trade swap from last year because
Last year's, that's what it was.
it was
Right,
last
right,
year's
right.
night one, and the Saints traded with us, and the trade was it was a trade swap, a pick swap for last year, and then an additional first round pick for this
This
coming
year.
year.
Because
Yep.
we had 2 picks in the first round last year as well. Because that's how we
2-0
were able to get AJ
Netherlands,
Green,
boys.
AJ Brown.
Ugh.
Oof.
But you know that's the thing is with the way that Howie has set this team up for Bear, and I say this because Frank brought this up a couple weeks ago, and if the worse the Saints fall, the higher that King's ransom becomes.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
because
they're going to get a king's ransom. They're going to get a
uh,
ransom for that pick.
and but my feeling is Howie's going to be like a kid in a candy store. He's going to be like, so what do I want? What do I want? What do I want?
Well,
Because he's got a golden ticket.
the one thing they talking
Yes, he
about,
does.
and they talk, I forget the kid's name from Georgia, Frank, the pass rusher. They just did a little
Ooh.
story in the Daily News.
Oh
They're
yeah.
looking at maybe possible
Yeah,
pass rusher.
that's it.
That could be
I
I
nice.
wouldn't mind having that young man.
And
Nah.
I have heard
He's-
something
He's
else
going to go
as far
top
as
5 in the draft.
I have heard something else as far as quaking. A little safety from the Ohio State University could be on the board for the Eagles, and a lot of other good. Look, regardless, here's the way that you have to look at it. Is our first round pick, if we do well this season, going to be crappy? Yeah. But are we going to get a King's ransom for that Saints pick? Yeah, because we could still get if Howie was able to trade to still hold on to that first round pick from last year, because he was, and then trade back. I mean, okay, whatever. I mean, this is still a viable situation where we could still have 2 first round picks. One may not be the top 5 anymore. We might drop down to 15 or 16, but you could still get a viable safety. I feel like their
I don't-
top
not gonna-
round first round picks are the replacement for Lane Johnson and a safety. That's what I think is
Well,
going to happen.
Nah, well, I can tell you right now, they will never take a safety in the first round. They're either going to take an edge rusher or a cornerback. That's what's going to happen. And much to my chagrin, because if Marvin Harrison Jr. comes out, I want that kid.
Well,
All right, with your
well, no, but so a couple things with that. He definitely you probably trade that Saints pick because you're going to get a King's ransom.
Yep.
And he could do a couple of things. He could trade out with our pick, with the Eagles pick to the second round, however the case may be. But knowing how he'll have his eye on the pass rusher.
Well,
that he wants.
Little
and then
known
he'll
fact,
figure out a way to flip the pick and still get another first round for next year. He's just that good.
That's what I think. That's what I
where the
think is going to
ransom
happen.
comes in.
Yeah,
That's where the ransom comes in.
and little known fact, if we're talking about second generational guys, not necessarily guys that went to a school like Roman, but second generational
No, I'm
guys.
talking about his son. I'm not talking about a Roman factor. That kid can play, Joe.
But
kid can play.
Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Yeah.
That would be nice to have Axeman 2.0 onto this team, because you put him in the mix with Nakobe Dean and someone like, TJ Edwards or, some other draft pick. This looks very lethal for what this defense could look like. Again, I have to say, it's like the Chuck Fletcher thing. I don't want a guy who's going to have a Porsche and it's going to trade it for a lemon. I don't want someone like Jonathan Gannon's going to have a Porsche of a defensive crew and play them like a lemon. I want to have a guy that's going to play it like a Porsche.
We want Nick Fangio to take over the defense next year and let Gannon go.
I want him to open up. I want him to open up that car on the open road, Frank. I want blood and guts from those guys on those quarterbacks. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers got hurt, I know we're not supposed to like be okay with injuries.
No. You
But-
never want to see hurt. But
Right.
He got
But-
hurt. He got hurt because he was sacked. It wasn't because
Right.
he tripped over the 20-yard line. No, he was hurt because he got hit.
Right. And I kind of like parts of that because it makes
Yeah.
it feel like the defense is playing with intensity. It's not necessarily like I'm happy that he got hurt. I'm just happy that the defense is playing with that much intensity.
Well, the good thing about that is he's the last best quarterback they're going to play this year until they get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Every other quarterback that we're playing this year, it falls short of what he can produce as a quarterback.
Like I said, man.
You're not scared
you
of
got
Dak on
Prescott,
Christmas?
but you got Dak Prescott.
I'm not scared of Dak. I'm not scared.
But here's
of
the
Dak.
thing about that game. We win tomorrow, we're in the playoffs. The next 2 weeks we win, we still up home field. I don't care about that Dallas game. That Dallas game on Christmas Eve with me, I don't care because at that point, Frank, when we got things sealed up, I just want healthy bodies going into the playoffs.
Yep.
And you know about the
I want
division
that game
games.
I want that game to be irrelevant. I want that game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I want Dallas fans.
Dallas' Super Bowl.
Exactly. We're playing our third stringers. Playing our third. That's what I want to happen.
Well,
Dallas
look at what happened.
Beating
Look
the
what
Eagles
happened.
third string.
Look what happened at the end of last year. We played them at the end of last year. That game didn't matter. We had second string guys in, like the practice squad. They blew us out, and you got Dak on the sidelines acting like he just beat our starting crew. And it's like, dude, relax.
Yeah.
I feel like the Christmas game is going to be like that. And what a Christmas. You get to have the Dallas Cowboys Eagles. You're going to have the Sixers on with, the season opener in Frank's mind. So, I mean, it's going to be a hell of a Christmas event in Philadelphia.
Yes.
But, guys, we got to get going.
Basketball season in style.
Before we go, let me get one more sponsor in and also a special message from Joey Sheeran of the EOP show. Today's show is proudly sponsored, as always, by PhillySportsTrips.com. There's a couple more. I'm not entirely sure if there is these two games in Chicago, and New York and Chicago are sold out, but I'm pretty sure the Dallas one is not sold out yet. But always check out PhillySportsTrips.com for the ultimate sport venues, either like if it's the Flyers, Sixers, Phillies when they start up again, and hell, even the Eagles as well. And check out PhillySportsTrips.com.
Don't forget about PhillySportsTrips.com with regards to home games at the Gatehouse at the Navy Yard. They have all pregame tailgate stuff at the Gatehouse at the Navy Yard. $150 gets you food, beer, and a great time. And we're not talking about Uncle Jim's hot dogs and hamburgers. We're talking about filet mignon and pasta salad that will make your mouth water. In fact, mine's just watering right now. James, you said you had a special message from our brethren, Joey Sheeran.
Yes, we do. And this is the annual tour drive coming up next week, December the 9th.
Hey everybody, Joey from Edge of Philly Sports here. I just want to take a minute and let you all in on a very special thing that is happening coming up on December 9th. It's annual. It's something that is very special to all of us at the EOP network. And this year we're getting involved. We're helping donate. We're collecting toys, but that's outside of everything. It is December 9th, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 777 Sproul Road in Springfield, PA. It is the Sassy Massy Toy Drive. And of course, it's being presented by the Delco Group. Now, you know where it is. It's right next to the Staples, the Giants right there. And let's not act like you don't all know where the Springfield Ale House is. So come on by, drop off some toys, have a drink, some food, bring the kids. Santa's going to be there, reindeer, bouncy house. I mean, it is the whole, what they do for this thing is just top notch. And they bring it every year. And this year, we're asking all of you to bring it as well. This is the Sassy Massy Toy Drive presented by the Delco Group. They do a bang-up job. And they hand-deliver all the toys to the local hospitals. So you don't have to worry about any funny business. Because, we don't like funny business here. So, again, December 9th, that is a Friday, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 777 Sproul Road, the Delco Group offices. Springfield Ale House, Giant, Staples. You know what's there. Everybody come out and help. Thank you.
Well said there, Joey. Always a pleasure, guys. Hey, guys, it's always been fun to see what they have in store. One more thing before we go. Please come tonight to the annual Toys for Tots thing at the Rusty Nail that my dad and the second dog elders will be at. So I would highly recommend everybody to please come and donate a toy if possible. And just go out and donate a toy to the toy drive next week and come down tonight and see my dad's elders kick some ass tonight. So for Joey Marks, for Damon Saline, Frank Finnegan, all TK, Dave Yarno, and all the crew, this is James Scorza saying so long from here, and we will see you next weekend for another episode of Pattison Ave Phanatics. Have a good day, everyone.
Later.
Go Dogs,
Later.
too. Let's go.
Hey,
for
we
Howard.
didn't give predictions, guys.